Hello, everyone. This is Chala Dinkoy, CEO and founder of the Repositioning Expert, coming to you live with another Tuesday Tea Time with Chala. This one's a little bit early. Again, it's protein, it's not tea, but let me take a sip. Oh, I topped it up after the gym, after Zumba, which was so much fun. I am off to Pasadena tomorrow. I'm getting up at 4 as usual. And I'm so excited. I've never been to Pasadena. And I hear one of my clients just told me that it's going to be cold and rainy and that I seem to bring the cold weather to the southern part of the US wherever I travel. Last time she said I was with her in Florida. It was the coldest they'd ever had. And now in Pasadena, it's going to be very cold. So I am bringing my sweater. I am bringing all the stuff that I wear in Canada. How sad is that? I'm going to Pasadena and bringing my sweaters. Okay. Well, let me tell you, I'm going to be hearing a lot of presentations. This time I won't be making presentations. I'm going to do that in Tampa in a couple of weeks when I go there to do a presentation and an executive roundtable. But this time I'm going to work on my business and I'm going to watch some presentations myself. So people tune out, buyers and business professionals tune out 10 minutes into your PowerPoint presentation. So, and this was quoted in Forbes. This was a molecular biologist by the name of John Medina who was quoted in Forbes as saying that we're boring our audience into zoning out. And what's interesting is 89% still use PowerPoint. So nothing wrong with PowerPoint, but over 4/5, so 4 out of 5 of business professionals, regardless of their rank and their age and their seniority, were asked about the last presentation that they watched, and they claimed that they had shifted out of focusing on the presenter into something else, their daydreams, 10 minutes into the presentation. So what is the solution? 55% say that a great story was the number one thing that kept their focus. So how do we use this fact to make our presentation the sole focus? So I'm going to give you some tips and tricks, and I'm going to take from the beginning, from the top, all the parts of the presentation where you can actually influence people to stay stuck to you like glue with their attention when you're presenting. So number one is, how do you use a story? Well, first start with your title. And I'm always very proud where I'm presenting at a large conference where they have concurrent sessions where people fill mine first because of the title. And a lot of people admit, hey, it's because we saw this title that was really compelling. So you make it long and make it about the pain of the actual people that are in the audience, the majority of the people in the audience. And if you follow me, you know that I don't think you should be presenting to any audience that you're not selling to. If this is for your marketing, obviously, if this is for your fun or for, your give back, that's great. I've done those too. But if you're trying to sell, which is what I'm always trying to teach, and if this is part of your marketing plan, you should not be speaking in front of anybody who isn't any audience that isn't at least made up of 70% of concentration of your key buying network, either influencer or actual check signer. So what you do to the title is make it long and make it painful. So let me give you an example. One of mine is called Twinning Your Competition, Why 86% of Buyers Can't Tell the Difference Between Two Suppliers. So this one's about differentiation. So that tells a story. So put the story right into the title, make it controversial if you want, put statistics to, convey that there's a big pain, and make it about the pain of the audience. Number two, in the very start of your presentation, this is something that I teach and that I do and that I've learned from the masters, is make it a Phoenix Rising story that's personal about you or somebody close to you that relates to the topic of the what you're presenting, topic of presentation. So for example, I talk about how I wasn't differentiated when I first started, because when we went to coach school, nobody taught us that, the coaching for leadership versus business versus personal was all the same training, the same methodology, and nobody was, niching us at the time. So what I learned is that I wasn't differentiated, so nobody was buying. And the entire coach federation, their statistics are, I think their median income for certified coaches, I think it still is beyond, like, below poverty line. So it doesn't work on its own because they're not differentiated, because they're not taught to be differentiated. But I digress. So I tell the story, Phoenix Rising story, of how I was out and down and out, and then I did this thing, so it's a story. I was down and out. I did this wonderful thing to help myself, and then my business grew, and this is all the success that I've had, and here are the results. And in fact, I show, pictures of the results for myself, my life. I show pictures of, results for my clients when I'm talking about it, but I'm getting ahead of myself. So number 3 is where you use a story, is in the problem description, which is case studies of stories of pain of clients that I've helped. So what was the pain? What did I do to help them? And what was the result and the solution? Always a story, right? Always in talking about yourself. So in describing what you did to help is another part of the story. So don't get so detailed and granular that they can listen to you and then go and implement it with their own, own people internally or externally. It has to be high level and top line, but it has to bake in the pain, what the challenge was and what you did to help, and then what the results were. But in the part where you talk about what you did to help, you have to bake in your differentiators, your unique, positioning, your unique technology, unique advantages, your specialty. So everything about you need to bake into how did we help. But it has to be framed in the story. Otherwise, it's going to bore people, and they're going to be the 4 out of 5 who are looking away or looking at their phone. That is the biggest tell when I'm speaking, is are people looking at their phones, or are they looking at me? And the way that I structure my presentation is that it's mostly all story, picture. And then it's demo. So super interactive, and the demo is on the audience. So people are trying to get up to do the demo, or they're in fear of being asked to do the demo. So they're all focused, or they're really interested in the demo because they're all struggling with the same thing. So I'm going to get to all that. Number 5 in how you use a story to keep buyers from tuning out, or from, anybody who's listening to you from tuning out, is how you use a story and talking about your results. So make the results not just numerical, like SMART goals, but make it also emotional. Show how the pain was gone, and like put numeric hard results and soft results, like we got an award, or we got rewarded the same contract with the same client year after year. In my case, I talk about how one of my clients, who was 61 and asked his girlfriend to marry him after getting so many contracts while working together, asked his girlfriend to marry him and invited me to the wedding. So I have a picture of the wedding. So remember, story. Now, years later, I see them and they still remember the story of me at the wedding, right? So remember, emotion buys. So how do you put the emotion into the presentation? It's through stories. Number 6 is the do not list of do not do list of the presentation world that I can tell you. So please do not talk about yourself or your company. You can only do it, I give you permission, you can only do it within the context of the stories of how you help and what the results were. But the results really have to be about the client. So really, it's only within the context of how you helped. So that's where you talk about, if you have this huge, amazing, sustainable warehouse, you make it part of the story that because of our sustainability of the warehouse, we got XYZ done better, or got them an award for sustainability. If you have some other form of technology, you bake that into the story. But you don't put up slides and say, we have 300 locations and 5,000 employees, and If I, could tell you how many times I used to get presented with the first slide being about the company presenting, I would just want to gag and die, because and this is marketing 101, is people want to hear about themselves. They don't really necessarily want to hear about you. They want to know how you can help them. And really, that's the only reason why they care, is whether you're qualified to help them. So when you tell that personal story up front and you're telling them, what happened to me and this is why I'm qualified to help you, that's the Phoenix Rising story. So remember, story, emotion, but all building to credibility and results. And you're always talking about the audience. Always talking about the audience. The only exception is when you're talking about how you helped. And that's the only time I'll allow you to bake in things about your company that are differentiators. And really, nobody really cares unless it's a differentiator or it's a reason for causing a positive result about how big you are or how many people or what your values are and all that. Okay. Another do not do list is for speaking is do not have more than 6 per 6. So 6 words per line on a page of PowerPoint and 6 lines per page. It's just too overwhelming. In fact, the more sophisticated the speaker, the more famous they are, the more they're paid, they only speak through pictures. And then others, they just don't use any slides at all. Now, I've done both. I've seen both. They could be equally as effective. Some of the most famous speakers don't use any slides at all. I don't know if Anthony Robbins does. I know, my hero Wayne Dyer doesn't. I'm not sure that Joe Dispenza does. So I'm thinking, I can't remember any of the business ones, but really, I'm not talking Russell Brunson. He's a different cat. But yeah, the less slides, I think the more people are engaged and the more stories you tell, because otherwise you're going to fall into the trap of using too many words on too many slides. Give info. So the other thing not to do is people are sick of info. And in fact, one of my favorite authors calls it infobesity. People just have too much information. So stop giving information. There's statistics around, people are going to forget about the information. Like 10 minutes into going to their car in the parking lot, they're going to forget 50% of what they've learned. So only teach through stories and demonstration. I really, really stand by that. Here's another do not, when you're presenting, teach by slide. Instead, educate if possible through demonstrations. Like what I do is I have people come up to the stage or to the microphone and they do their elevator pitch. And even though I gave them the formula and the structure, I help them recreate their elevator pitch right on the spot. And that's fascinating to the people because they're doing it on their own. They're changing their own. People who are the last to come up are saying, I've had 10 versions of this. I don't know what to do, but yet I still help them, right? And that's the part where we're teaching. Yeah, I like this part where do not do this is don't use slides with just words, or if you have to, like, don't do it a lot. I really love giant pictures of humans in pain with just, keywords that remind you of the story. And then you're the one who's telling the story. Just remember, like, that whole storytelling culture, right? That's been passed down from generation to generation. That's what it's about. And then lastly, don't talk about somebody else's pain other than the people that are sitting in the audience while you're talking about your case studies. I cannot tell you the amount of times that I had large international agencies come in to present to me as a brand manager when I worked for Pepsi, Pizza Hut, Frito-Lay, and they were trying to sell, whatever they were trying to sell, but they would give us stories of pain that they solved for companies that were not in our industry, had nothing to do with our problem, had 10 times the budgets that we did, could not even understand our problems and our pain and how to solve it. So please, I don't care if you have amazing stories. I don't care if you've done great things, but if they don't directly relate to the people in the audience, and their pain, don't tell that story. It doesn't impress me. It just makes me feel like you really are not the person who's supposed to work with me. Okay. So I hope that helps. I have made it my life's work to present for a living, to get paid, and to influence people, and to help them, and to then get them to hire me for a much bigger contract. So I want you to have the same success that I've had. And these are some of the things that I've learned along the way, both from, really, really excellent, very expensive coaches, but also through very hard trial and error. And that's what I teach now. And that's what I do what I teach. And I literally do it like every month, if not every week. And I'm so proud to say that it works. So please go ahead and try some of these things out if you're not doing them. And you will see that people are not tuning you out anymore. They're not going to their phones. That is the kiss of death. And you will persuade people, and not just help them, but you'll persuade them that you can help them on a larger scale. And that's what I want for you. All right, everyone, take care. I'll see you next week.